Hi everyone, Ryan Duffy again from Precision Microbes.
Tommy Heffernan here from Precision Microbes, and welcome back to our weekly series we call Tech in 10.
Yep, 10 minutes to cover a topical technical issue.
Yeah, that's it. So this week, kind of leading on from Lungworm last week, coughing cows, dairy cows at grass, let's go, and off we go. So coughing cows, dairy cows at grass, it's a kind of a summer syndrome, Ryan. The way I see it, just typical presentation, what we're talking about is typically dairy cows at grass that start coughing. See more of it over the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of vets and farmers talk about this. The cows may be coughing for an extended period of time. I think you have a difference when you have an acute. We might, if we have time, we might talk about acute outbreaks. But this is kind of this chronic coughing that can often go on for a couple of months. Milk drop, obviously sick cows, plus or minus nasal discharges often, coming into the parlour, particularly when they're moving. And we covered lungworm, which is an important part of it as part of the syndrome. You've done a lot of work in your career on respiratory disease in general in cows, so it'd be interesting to hear what you say. But that's kind of our topic for today.
Well, look, pneumonia or respiratory disease is the most common cause of mortality in cattle over a month of age in Ireland. But this here seems to be a massive rumbling issue. As you say, the last 5 to 10 years.
Can we call it a syndrome, Ryan?
I think we can, yeah.
Okay, so we can do it. We want to fight for it.
Well, yeah, that's it. But last 5 to 10 years, it seems that people are talking more and more and more about this as the years are going on. Is that a direct consequence of expansion? I think initially that's probably where a lot of people sat, whereas now we're still trying to understand because it's not something that's uniform across the board. Some cases it's bacteria, some cases it's just straightforward lungworm, sometimes it's viral. So it's unfortunately not as clear cut. Every farm is different. Yeah,
so if you go back to last week's video, we did cover lungworm. We did cover adult cows and why we're seeing potentially more of it, reinfection syndrome, and that full immunity, not being developed. So a lot of times when I see these particular things, is these lungworm cases are presenting, they may have got a dose. Okay, so these cows are obviously going on for a while, and vets have talked, a lot of vets about these. They may have plus or minus a dose, maybe even a second dose, which, coughing in the summer months, you would always talk about pneumonia. Now, I would have said I would investigate a lot of these with vets, 40% of them plus could, absolutely have a primary lungworm issue. Maybe even started it, but often what's occurring after is maybe bacterial pneumonia, viral, or with parasitic is lungworm. So it's quite complex, isn't it?
And it's concerning because I know obviously in recent times there's been conversations around anthelmintic resistance in particular. And whenever we're going in, kind of, common things are common, it must be lungworm. And we're going in with a second, maybe a third dose to try and resolve it. The issue keeps ebbing on and ebbing on. That's probably not where we want to be either.
Yeah, because I think some of these cases maybe, and something the vets, talking to vets about it, but we've seen definitely we had a suspicion that there was resistance in some of these cases because you're very limited in dairy cows. Obviously, is you have one product you can use in milking cows and keep milking them, which is a big challenge. That's not for us to solve. But so these cows are presenting. It's a lingering issue. So a lot of conversations I have with vets and farmers is about how do we approach this diagnostically.
Well, even how many animals would you typically see? I would have seen maybe 20-25% of cows coughing. Sometimes it went a wee bit higher, sometimes it was a wee bit lower. Would you see about a quarter of the herd coughing?
Good question. I probably haven't classified it, and I think you're probably not much more than 25%. It could be as low as 10%. And those 10% could cough a lot. And what's interesting about that is when you actually look at them, when you primarily see lungworm, you see first and second lactation cows. So it is actually worth actually looking and seeing which cows are coughing.
So you're looking for patterns here.
Patterns, of disease. So if the first and second lactation animals are coughing more, that may be only an indication. You've got to work with your vet on this. But again, a lot of vets are watching this as well, and just as a refresher. So first and second calvers, maybe, if you see all the herd coughing, again, looking at the nasal discharge, is it clear? Is it snotty? Because, again, this is very basic, but typically you'll see more clear nasal discharges with viruses. Don't always see it, but, if there's snotty. So visually looking at that would be an important part of it. What I found with them, though, is you have to do a deeper dive in diagnostics with these chronic cases. You've got to work with your vet. Otherwise they linger on and on.
Well, that gives you a good sort of area to start sniffing, essentially, but you need conclusive diagnostics. Otherwise, this issue will rumble on.
Yeah.
or it could become an issue every single year.
And again, it has quite a big impact on production over time. So, while we all want the easy answer and you want the dose or you want to do something quickly, the loss of production over time, and I've done this in a few farms, is quite significant. Okay, so there is value in stepping back and looking at this from a diagnostic perspective and saying, well, what may be the underlying cause? And often it's probably one, if two, if not three.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's bovine respiratory disease, complex. It's seldomly only one guy. There's usually a mix of everything going on.
And the other question as well, I suppose, is this time of year, nutrition, you think it's pretty straightforward, but actually it's not. So when you look at butterfat protein, and now with collars, we spoke about in other videos, rumination, you have indicators of nutritional friction, which has a very big impact on pneumonia.
The immune system.
Yeah. Respiratory health. So I think these are the complexities of these cases that you must look at nutrition and diagnostics alone. It's back to the very simple seesaw. I'm getting told that I'm moving off the whiteboard again. This is becoming too common. Immunity on one side, infection pressure on the other. Yeah, okay, lungworm drives up infection pressure, opens the door to viruses, but is there some reason the immune system's been depressed in cows at this time of year? So that's why they're complex multifactorial cases.
Okay, so where are we going now with our diagnostics? Because we need to make some decisions.
Yeah, we need to say, so I suppose bloods, typically with bloods, you have to pair them. They're of limited value, I would have found. You can go back and do young stock screens. That's something your vet might do. I think we're back here to lung washes again.
And sorry, whenever you say bloods, you're saying pairs, you're talking bloods twice, 3 to 4 weeks apart?
Yes, for looking for rises in the serology of particularly the viral pathogens or bacterial antigens to see, have we an indicator of what particular virus or bacteria could be causing it.
And then as for young stock, you said that as well. What's the difference there between doing young stock versus older stock? Where's the value in that?
So if young stock are in the herd, okay, and there's viruses or bacteria, typically viruses circulating, those young stock are immunonaive. So whatever viruses they tend to be showing at this particular time of year in summer grazing, if they're positive, maybe an indication of the offending viruses that are on the farm.
Very good, very good. So there's massive value in the young stock.
Screen, potentially, if they're sharing airspace with cows and stuff, yeah.
Very good, very good. Then as for the parasitic side of things, you're mentioning here doing lung washes, even bacteria, even viruses. So that's something the vet will do, where we're washing essentially the inside of the lungs and we're taking the content up and we're looking for lungworm. We're looking for specific bacteria or viruses and even immune cells in there as well, which can kind of put us in the right avenue as well.
With the potential of lungworm resistance as well, I think it's probably something we need to be doing on farm, is getting these lung washes done if there's persistent coughing, because you won't see anything on feces. Bloods are not very indicative. So those lung washes, even though difficult to do, lots of vets are doing them now, I think they're very, very useful. You can also take that material and you can run it. But ultimately, people want to look and take an action. They want a shot or a dose or a vaccine. And I think by identifying the virus or bacteria, and you had looked at All Ireland data again, just on trends, what's showing up on cows?
Yeah, well, the All Ireland data is being produced by the Department, Animal Health Ireland and AFBI up in the north. So it's pretty much a whole data approach. And listen, it's all mortality data. So it's animals that are going into the 6 regional veterinary labs in the Republic. And what they're really showing is about 55% of issues in adult cows are bacteria over the last 5 to 6 years. Viruses are only making up about 10 to 15, but often they're overgrown by bacteria or they let bacteria in. And parasitic infections are making up about 20%, which unfortunately is showing a worrying trend going up the ways.
Okay, what I would have seen is, everyone talks about IBR and RSV. I think I would have seen a lot of both of them as primary viruses. There's probably other ones there. But typically Mannheimia as the pathogen, which is a bacterial agent that can cause a lot of, from a physical disruption to the lung, the same side of coughing that you would experience from the inflammation and tissue damage you would see with it.
Oh, definitely. Like, it has a leukotoxin. It's very potent against the actual cells in the lungs. So that's making up about 45% of bacterial issues in adults. IBR is making up about 50% of viral. RSV is making up about 25% of viral. So definitely, if we have lungworm ruled out, we should be looking at those 3. Maybe there's something more exotic going on, but common things are common.
Common things are common. So look, let's recap. I think you've got to look at the immunity piece nutritionally and see if there's any data there on butterfat protein or rumination, if you've collars or boluses, etc., look at the basics, look at the output of the cows, look at the cows themselves, look for patterns in them. Unfortunately, with these chronic coughing cow cases, engage your vet on diagnostics, looking further, because they're slow and they can be slow and painful. But if you can make that maybe lungworm issue, rule it out, and it's a bacterial viral issue, the types of vaccines that are out there in the market, you can see a response to it.
Definitely. I think we're getting very close to that 10 minutes, Tommy.
We're done.
Brilliant.